Hello everyone. Welcome to Deeksha Karnataka YouTube channel, and today in the most repeated PYQs I am gonna discuss ray optics and alternating current. EM waves I have already covered in my last live, so if you want some questions from EM wave, only one question comes from this chapter, so we have covered it in our last live. Today only mainly ray optics and alternating current we are going to cover, and we will start with ray optics and then go into alternating current chapter, right? So if you are watching this live, don't forget to like this, okay? Give it a like, and obviously if you have not yet subscribed, don't forget to subscribe, and you will be able to comment in the live chat. So first question of the day: a ray of light passes from vacuum into a medium of refractive index n. If the angle of incidence is twice the angle of refraction, then the angle of incidence in terms of refractive index is. So first, a ray of light, just let me change the color. A ray of light travels from vacuum into a medium of refractive index n. Okay, from vacuum, so this is vacuum, this is refractive index n. A light travels okay, and it says that angle of incidence is twice the angle of refraction. Suppose this is the incident angle, incident ray, this is the refracted ray, so this is given by I, this is given by R, and it is mentioned that I equals to twice of R. They ask you what is the relationship, what is the incident angle in terms of refractive index. Now we know that from Snell's law, sine of I divided by sine of R equals to n, right? This is the definition, general form. This is not general form, but this is the Snell's law, okay? Or you are trying to find what you are trying to find, you are trying to find angle of incidence, right? So let's but first we will try to find it in terms of angle of refraction. Why? Because obviously sine 2 theta formula we can apply and we can cancel some of them. So this will be given by n. So we get 2 sine r cos r divided by sine r. Okay, so we have broken this 2r, sine r cancels, and we get n, or we get cos r equals to n upon 2, or r equals to cos inverse n by 2. Now here, obviously if you leave it here you will make a mistake, because they ask you the angle of incidence. So basically angle of incidence is 2 times r, that is 2 times cos inverse n by 2. So correct answer will be 2 times cos inverse n by 2. So the students that made mistakes last year, that while solving it they calculated it, but by mistake they have marked the option C as correct. Hello Chandu, hello Tasmia, hello Snagdha Pa, hello Darshan or Darshan came. Hello Teju, hello everyone. Yes, so we are solving PYQs from chapters ray optics and alternating current. Okay, so we have started with ray optics, then we will move on to alternating current. Both chapters are super important. From these two chapters alone you can expect 7 to 8 questions combined. Okay, so 8 question, 4 plus 4 or 4 plus 3. From ray optics 4 question comes. From alternating current it can be 3, it can be 4. Okay, so again this is also very interesting question. A convex lens has a power capital P. It is cut into 2 halves along its principal axis. So here we have a lens, okay, shown here. Now first we have cut it into along the principal axis, okay. Further, one piece out of the two halves is cut into two halves perpendicular to the principal axis. So here we have cut the first lens along the principal axis, then we have taken one half and we have cut it perpendicular to the principal axis, again dividing it into two more halves. Okay, as shown in the figure. Choose the incorrect option for the lens pieces. Okay, so first of all, let us understand what's happening here. So when you cut a lens along its length, suppose the initial power of the lens is P. Okay, when you cut it along the principal axis, the power of the lens does not change. Okay, it does not depend on the size or size of the lens. It only depends on the radius of curvature. Radius of curvature for both surfaces remain unchanged, so the power of this half remains same. Okay, now when you cut the lens along the perpendicular direction to the principal axis, what happens in that case is that each half will have a different power, because this curvature remains same, this curvature becomes infinity. Similarly here, this curvature becomes infinity, this curvature remains same. So the power gets half, because it's an equiconvex lens. The power here will be P by 2 and power here will also be P by 2. Okay, so this is how the power changes when you cut a lens. When you are cutting the lens along the principal axis, power remains same. When you cut the lens along, okay, let's see. Hello, Basili. Okay, let's see the option. Which one is the wrong? Start answering the question. I think poll will not be available today because the person who does the poll is on leave today, so poll will not be available. So power of lens L3 is P by 2. Power of lens L3 is P by 2 is a correct statement. Okay, this is a correct statement. They ask you incorrect statement. I have highlighted this, but in the exam you have to make sure you read the question properly and understand. Okay, incorrect, wrong, false, they can sometimes be tricky. Power of the lens L1 is P, power of lens L1 is P. This is also correct statement. Next, power of L1 is P by 2, power of L1 is not P by 2, so this is an incorrect statement. Okay, power of L2 is P by 2, power of L2 is P by 2. So correct answer for this question is C. Those who have answered B and D are wrong. Yes. Okay, math learning. Right, A math learning, your answer should be option C, not option B or D. Okay, so make sure, again, incorrect, this kind of questions can be tricky, so make sure the mistakes that you are making here, fine, but that mistake should not be repeated during the exam. That's why we are allowed to do mistakes here, right? If you are doing mistakes, fine, no problem, but learn from the mistake and avoid those mistakes in the exam. That is important. The image formed by the objective lens of a compound microscope. So image formed by the objective lens of a compound microscope. Generally we know that in a compound microscope the objective is smaller and eyepiece is bigger. Okay, so what is the image formed? Real and enlarged, virtual and enlarged, virtual and diminished, real and diminished. Okay, so remember that the objective of a microscope or a telescope always forms real image. Okay, microscope be the telescope, they always form real image. Okay, final image can be virtual. Final image is actually virtual by eyepiece. Okay, because it gives you more enlarged image. So it will be real and enlarged. So first level of enlargement happens by the objective, so it will give you a real and enlarged image. Okay, not virtual. Okay, remember that it will always be real and enlarged. Yes. Okay, not B, math learning, not B, it is real and enlarged. This is a convex lens. Okay, this is a convex lens, and convex lens, if you have used microscope in biology lab, then you will know that there is a certain distance between the lens and the objective. Okay, and the objective is a very high, very small focal length lens and its power is very high. Okay, if you see there are 10x, 40x, 100x, that is generally the rating of the objective. Objective does the most of the enlargement, and the enlargement happens because it has a very small focal length. Very small focal length means focal length is small, power is high. Smaller the focal length, higher is the power. Okay, the object is kept away from the focal length, that means it will always give you a real image. The first lens will always give you real image, and then the secondary lens, that is the eyepiece, okay, that will give you a enlarged and virtual image, so that you can see it through your eye. Okay, you don't need a screen. Final image is virtual, but the first image is always real. Next, if R and R1 denotes the angle inside the prism having an angle of prism 50 degrees, considering that during the interval of time from t equals to 0 to t equals to t, R varies with time as R equals to 10 degrees plus t square. During that time, R1 will vary with time as. Very easy question. Actually easy question, but they tried to make it a little difficult for you. What is the relationship between angle of prism and the refractive angles? The relation is that R plus R1 equals to 50 degrees. That is, always remember, for a prism, R1 plus R2 equals to angle of prism. It can be shown or it can be proven using geometry. Okay, if you take the these angles and incident angle correspondingly, and if you take this rectangle, you can show that this sum of these two angles is actually equals to the angle of the prism. Okay, the fact that this is normal, that means this is 90 degrees, these two angles are 90 degrees, and it can be shown easily. Okay, so now, so we know that R plus R1 is equal to 50 degrees. Now in the question, R is given as 10 degrees plus t square. Okay, plus R1. So very easy question, 50 degrees. So R1 equals to 50 degree minus 10 degrees minus t square. Right? So it will be 40 degrees minus t square. Very easy. So 40 degree minus t square, that means option C is correct option for this question. Yes, yes. Now I see option C, most of you have answered C. Teju not A, not B, Sanjana not B, Shrikant not B, it will be C. The answer will be C. Okay, because you have to take it on the other side and it will be minus. Okay, clear? Now let's move on to question number 5. The final image formed by an astronomical telescope. Astronomical telescope, final image, real and erect and diminished, virtual, inverted and diminished, real, inverted and magnified, virtual, inverted and magnified. Now let's see who can answer this question. I already gave you a hint. Okay, who can answer this question? Let's see. Who can answer this? Yes. But still I see some of you correct, some of you are wrong. Okay, don't spam Shrikant. I read your option, I read your answer. So remember that final image formed, okay, will be virtual. Astronomical telescope, remember that whenever you are using your eye to observe something through a telescope or some device, okay, if you are not using a screen, that means the final image has to be virtual. Okay, if you are using a screen to observe something, then the final image is a real image. So for example, the image formed by a Cassegrainian telescope. Cassegrainian telescope is a reflecting telescope. Okay, Cassegrainian telescope is a very special type of telescope which forms real images. Okay, whereas, and that you can see, you do not need to look into the eyepiece. Nowadays they have modified Cassegrainian telescope. There you can observe the image through the lens as well. So final image is virtual, but otherwise if you see Cassegrainian telescope, that makes a real image. okay. But in case of astronomical telescope, which was developed by Galileo Galilei in some 1800s, okay, he used, or not 1800, even before that, I think 17 or 1600, okay, he used two lenses and he observed the moons of Jupiter using that telescope, okay, basically. And obviously it gives you a magnified image. Magnified is obviously clear, okay, it cannot give diminished image. If the role of the telescope is to observe objects which are already small, okay, so if it gives you an even smaller image, you will not be even able to see it. So obviously it is magnified image, okay, be it microscope or telescope, they gives you magnified images, okay. Now what type of image it will give? Telescope will give you virtual and inverted magnified image, okay. So virtual, inverted and magnified. If you combine virtual and magnified, this automatically comes, even if you are not sure whether it will be inverted or erect, okay. So virtual and magnified, because you are using telescope through your eye, that means and those who are don't know about Galileo or anything, they should remember that there was a Pirate of the Caribbean movie, okay, where Jack Sparrow used the telescope to observe what is happening beyond, right? So that is a telescope. That thing is called a telescope. That is a terrestrial telescope. And if you are observing distant object, it is called outside Earth object, then it is called astronomical telescope. That is the difference. Terrestrial telescope means you are observing to observe whichever is far away but within the Earth, and if you are observing something which is far away from Earth, then it is called astronomical telescope, okay. That is the basic difference, okay. So astronomical telescope is always giving you virtual, inverted and magnified image. So option D is correct. Yes, so Srikanth is a long time he is trying to answer, okay. Okay, I think your logic, you have understood Vishweshwara, right? I hope you understood that whenever you are observing something through your eye, okay, your eye cannot see real images unless it is formed on a screen. If you are observing something directly, through a lens, that means it is a virtual image. For example, I am wearing a spectacles, right? So what type of image this spectacle is forming? It is forming virtual image, okay. That virtual image is captured by our eye lens, and that eye lens is actually converting that virtual image into real image, and then it is being converted to sent to our brain, and our brain is processing, okay. Our brain eye processor is back here, okay. So basically what happens, the data which is collected by the spectacle, it is actually a virtual image. That virtual image travels to my eye, my eye converts that virtual image into real image, and then it sends to the processor, okay. That is how things work. So if you are observing, just remember this one simple thing, if you are observing something directly through your eye, then it is a virtual image. For example, when you are observing a movie, okay, movie is projected on a screen, okay. So when you are observing the movie, it is projected on a screen, the screen is actually a real image. That is a real image, okay, because you are not directly observing. If the movie theater is like that, such that you are directly you are given something like that, so you just put it in your eye and you can see that, that is a virtual image, okay. But when you are observing something on a screen, that is a real image. If you are observing something directly through the image is being processed by your eye directly, then it's a virtual image, okay. Real images are always formed on a screen. So that is the basic difference between real and virtual images. Now those who are waiting for a price drop of KC30 batch already started, so we decided that some of you who have not able to afford it, so we reduced the price by 500 rupees. 1999 is the new price. You can join the batch till now, and the coupon code is already applied. If you go into the link in the description of this video, you will get this price only for few days, okay. because the batch may close very soon. So if you're still interested, obviously if you are interested, you should go and register yourself today, so that you can attend all the live classes, all the lectures, all the tests, everything are ongoing. So if you still want to join it, join today, so that you don't miss out on anything. And the price is now 1,999 only. Okay, so don't miss out on it. Don't wait till your KCET exams are there. Okay, so if you are feeling that my preparation is, I'm not able to prepare on my own, then you should join the batch. If you are preparing well on your own, you don't need to join the batch. But if you are thinking that okay, my preparation is not happening as I wanted, then you can choose the KC30 batch. Now let's move on to the next question. If the angle of minimum deviation is equal to angle of the prism for an equilateral prism, then the speed of light inside the prism. Very interesting question. Sir, when will Comet KC30 crash course planner? Comet KC30 crash course planner will come to today or tomorrow, and batch will start from Monday. Okay, KC30 planner we have created. Ekta ma'am is doing a video on the planner. Okay, and it should go live today or tomorrow. You can check that out. And the batch will start from 6th of April, that is Monday. Okay, coming Monday the batch will start. Okay, Aishwarya. Sanjana, we are solving 30 questions as usual. 30 questions, not one less, not one more. Okay, combining two chapters, 15 questions each. Okay. If the angle of minimum deviation is equal to the angle of prism, so very tricky question. We know that angle of deviation. Okay, now here it is mentioned minimum deviation. Okay, minimum deviation is equal to angle of the prism. Okay, what is the angle of the prism? Angle of the prism, it's an equilateral triangle, so that means it must be 60 degrees. Okay, now what you should do that you need to find the refractive index of the medium. Refractive index is given by sine A plus delta by 2 divided by sine A by 2. That is the refractive index. Now why you are doing it? Because refractive index on the other hand is speed of light in vacuum divided by speed of light in that medium. What we are trying to find? We are trying to find this V, speed of light inside the prism. Okay, now let's put the values. Sine A plus delta by 2 means what? Means 60 degrees. A and delta are equal. When you divide by 2, you get same value, right? So sine 60. So this is where you can save some time. And sine A by 2 means 60 by 2, that is sine 30. Okay, sine 60 means root 3 by 2. Sine 30 means half, right? So it will be root 3. Okay, now what is V then? So V will be C upon root 3. Okay, so if you compare this C by V, you will get V equals to C upon root 3, that is 3 into 10 to the power of 8 divided by root 3, that is root 3 into 10 to the power of 8. Now remember that any medium will always have speed less than speed of light. So if you are making a mistake, that is suppose you have multiplied root 3 and you are getting 3 root 3, remember that speed of light cannot be more than 3 into 10 to the power of 8. Okay, that is the maximum speed limit, and that is valid for air and vacuum. For any other medium, speed of light will always be less than that. So, root 3 means 1.7, so even this one is bigger than that. Okay, 2 root 3 is bigger than this value. Okay, so you should not get this as well. Okay, you should not, even if you are guessing, you should even if you are guessing the answer, suppose this is the speed of light in vacuum and air, so this is not possible. This is more than that value, so it is also not possible. So you have to choose between these two. Now why there will be extra 2, that makes no sense. So you can guess this will be the correct answer. That is how you can guess if you don't know how to solve. So basic guessing also requires some level of understanding. You cannot blindly guess. Okay, now let's see. A luminous point object O is placed at a distance 2r from the spherical surface. Okay, separating two transparent media of refractive indices N1 and N2 as shown. So here we have two mediums N1 and N2, okay, separated by and the radius of curvature is r. The object distance is 2r, N1 is 4/3 and N2 is 3/2. Okay, if r equals to 10 centimeter, the image obtained at a distance from P. So if this r value is 10 centimeter, then where do you get the image from P? So first of all, for that, what equation we'll be using? We'll be using N2 by V minus N1 by U equals to N2 minus N1 by R. This is the formula. It is almost same as Lenz's equation, that is 1 by V minus 1 by U is equal to 1 by R. Only difference is generally V happens inside this medium, so the refractive index of this medium divided by V, and U is in this medium, so this refractive index by U is this. But that is how you should remember. This is not actually, it might be happening in front also, but this is how you can remember it. Okay, and N2 minus N1, difference between these two divided by radius of curvature is the formula. Now let's see, sign you have to use. So N2 is given 3/2 and V we are trying to find, divided by U, N1 is 4/3 and U is given here as 2r. U is given as 2r. If you see here, U is 2r, so that means we have to put 2r, but not only 2r, we have to put a negative sign. Okay, object distance is always negative. Object distance is always negative because it is on the negative x-axis. So if you take your x-axis, this point is your origin. Okay, so this is negative x-axis, this is positive x-axis. Anything along the positive x-axis is always positive, anything along the negative x-axis is always negative. Okay, do not try to remember as against the light, against the direction, left side, right side. That will be much more complicated in sign convention. Very basic sign convention is that if it is along positive x-axis, it is positive. If it is along negative x-axis, it is negative. That is the easiest way to understand Cartesian sign convention. Okay, and that is equals to 3/2 minus 4/3 divided by 10 centimeter, or r. Let me write it r here. We will put the 10 centimeter later on. Okay, now here r is positive. Why r is positive? R is on this side. The curvature is in this side, so r must be on the right hand side, that is along the positive x-axis. So r is positive. Okay, now let's simplify. It will be 3/2. 3/2 means 9 minus 8, that is 1 by 9 minus 3 3 is a 9, 2 4 is a 8, 9 minus 6, 9 minus 8 by 6 divided by r, and on this side we get 3/2v minus plus, and we get 4/6r. Okay, or you can write it here 1/6r. Okay, now let's simplify. 3/2v equals to 1/6r minus 4/6r, or this one goes to other side, we get 1 minus 4/6r, or minus 3/6r, or minus 1/2r. Okay, so now simplify for v. So what is the value of v? V will be minus, cross multiply, 3 to the 6 by 2, right? So 3r, 3 into 2r by 2. So 2 cancels and we get minus 3r. So minus 3r means minus 30 centimeter. So minus 30 centimeter means on which side it is? It must be along the negative x-axis. So this must be the v. Okay, this must be the v. Okay, so now let's go back to our question. 30 centimeter is the answer, and the answer is on the rarer medium, because this is rarer, this is denser. 1.33, it is 1.5. So 30 centimeter on the rarer medium. This is slightly longer question from this chapter. As you can see, most of the questions are generally easy, but sometimes you may need to solve questions which are not difficult, but you need to solve it. Okay, right? Minus 30 is the answer, not A, but yes, option A is correct. Yes, option A is correct. Yes. Hello Mahesh. Why not? I am crack JEE Mains 67 marks to I will prepare JEE Advance. Okay, if you got 67 percentile or 67 marks. Now 67 marks in which subject? You got in 67 in physics, then it's a good marks. Okay, but if you have got 67 percentile, that is a different issue. An equiconvex lens of radius of curvature 14 centimeter is made up of two different portions. Okay, left half and right half of vertical portion is made up of material of refractive index 1.5 and 1.2 respectively, as shown in the figure. If a point object is placed at a distance of 40 centimeter, calculate the image distance. So let's see. Now first of all, you have to find the focal length of this combination. Okay, how to find the focal length of this combination? Obviously we will be using lens maker's equation, which says that 1 by f equals to n minus 1 by r 1 minus 1 by r2. Okay, so here both surfaces have different radius of curvatures are same. Okay, this one is positive, this one is negative. So we will calculate both the both sides focal lengths, and then we will say that because they are in contact, so we can say that the total focal length is 1 by f1 plus 1 by f2. Okay, this is how we should find the total focal length. So what is n? First case, first we are solving for the left hand side. So n is 1.5. Okay, and what is the radius of curvature? Radius of curvature is given here 14 centimeter for this first surface. Okay, so we will put that 1.5 minus 1 by 14, that is positive, minus 1 by infinity. Why 1 by infinity? Because this one is flat. So flat means it is infinity. Flat means the radius of curvature is infinity. Any straight line has a radius of curvature equals to infinity. That is how the flat surfaces are defined. Okay, what is a flat surface? Flat surface is a part of a sphere having radius of curvature infinity. Okay, that is how a straight line is also defined. So here we get 0.5 into 1 by 14, so that is 1 by 28. We will leave it here because we have to use that formula. And what about f2? 1 by f2 equals to, now for f2 the refractive index is given as 1.2. Okay, so we will use 1.2 minus 1. Now what is the refractive index for the first surface? Refractive index of the first surface is a flat surface. So for its this the refractive index, the radius of curvature will be infinity. Okay, minus. What about the refractive index of the second surface? Refractive index of the second surface is minus. This is curved inward, right? So it will be minus. On this side we said everything is minus, and the value is same, that is 14. So it will be minus 14. Okay, so it will be 0.2 into 1 by 14. Okay, minus minus plus, 1 by infinity is 0. So it will be 1 upon 70. Okay, 0.2 by 14 is 1 upon 70. Now let's use this length in combination formula. So that is 1 upon 28 plus 1 upon 70, and it will be 280, and here we will get 10 plus 4. Okay, 10 plus 4, that is 14 by 280. So you cancel 14 to the 28, so it will be 1 by 20. So the net focal length is 20 centimeter. So net focal length is 20 centimeters. So basically you can treat this as a single lens of focal length 20 centimeter. Now if you keep an object at 40, so that means the object is kept at a distance equals to twice of the focal length. So you are going to get an image which is exactly equals to 2f, that is 40 centimeter, but on the other side. So the final image will form at a distance of 40 centimeter. The final image will form at a distance of 40 centimeter. Now remember, now what is the trick if you want to guess the answer? Okay, in most cases in KCET, we have seen a few questions like this in the past also, where you have to remember that if the question is complicated, answer is not that complicated, especially for this kind of structured question. If the question is complicated, answer is generally not complicated, but with the thing that if you want to guess, if you don't want to do all the calculations, you want to guess, sir, I want to save some time on this question, move on, I want a good scientific guess. Remember that generally this distance turns out to be always twice the focal length. Okay, this distance generally turns out to be always twice the focal length. So the answer should be exactly equals to the same object distance whatever is given here. Okay, or if the focal length is given, generally it turns out that it will be actually the twice of the focal length. Okay, that's how you should guess. Okay, we will see that. I think one more question is there. We will see that there as well. Now let's see this question. A point object is moving at a constant speed of 1 meter per second along the principal axis of a convex lens of focal length 10 centimeter. The speed of the image is also 1.1 meter per second when the object is at. So as I mentioned, this question you can guess the answer. So focal length is 10 centimeter. So generally KCET, they prefer twice the focal length, so answer will be 20. But how the question explains it? So here it is mentioned that the object is moving at a speed of 1 meter per second and image is also moving at 1 meter per second, and that means object speed and image speed are same. Object speed and image speed can be same only when the object is exactly at twice the focal length. So image will exactly at twice the focal length also. So if image distance and object distance are equal, if image distance and object distance are equal, then only their speed can be same, otherwise they will not have same speed. So if object speed and image speed are same, then only they will have same speed, otherwise for any other location it will not be same. And this is only possible when the object is exactly located at twice the focal length. Otherwise the object distance and image distance will not be same. For any other object distance, image distance will not be same as object distance. Okay, so only if yes, so B is the answer. C, I think you are saying the last question, math learning. Yes. Okay. Now, so as I mentioned that in KCET they prefer a distance 2f is preferred. 2f distance is preferred. Not always, but many cases 2f distance is preferred. Okay. So remember this. If you want to guess in a lens problem, guess 2f. Okay, if object distance is given and you have to calculate the focal length and find the image distance, it generally will be 2f. Okay, for lenses and mirrors, nothing else. Okay, for normal cases it may not be the same, but for lenses and mirrors 2f is one of the preferred value that you should remember, okay, for a given pair of transparent media, the critical angle for which color is maximum. Okay, critical angle for which color is maximum. Now what is the relationship between critical angle and wavelength? That's what we have to figure it out. Now we know that refractive index of a medium is inversely proportional to wavelength. Higher the wavelength, smaller is refractive index. Okay, for example, refractive index of red is smaller compared to refractive index of violet. Okay, red color does not deviate much, okay, when it comes from one medium to another, but other colors, for example, violet deviates the most. Okay, so if you remember your old prism diagram, when white color enters a prism and it gets deflected, okay, you see that the red color is on the top, violet color in the bottom, so that's why you got Vibgyer in the reverse order. Okay, so red has the smallest refractive index, it deviates the least. Okay, that is one of the reason that it scatters least, it deviates least. That is why we use it as a danger sign. Okay, not only because of scattering but also because of the deviation, refraction. Okay, so both reason that we use red color as a danger signal. Okay, now refractive index is inversely proportional to wavelength. What is critical angle? Now critical angle between two media is given by 1 upon n. Okay, so refractive index and critical angle is related like this. So from here we can say that the critical angle, sine of the critical angle, is directly proportional to the wavelength. Okay, so higher the wavelength, higher will be the critical angle as well, because sine, it starts from 0, goes to 90 and it increases. So as the value increases, wavelength also increases, right? So it must be, so which angle have the maximum critical angle? Maximum critical angle is for red color. Maximum critical angle is for red color. The wavelength of red is 700 nanometer and wavelength of violet is around 400 nanometer. Okay, remaining colors you do not need to consider. Any color based question, red and violet are the most extreme points. Okay, so violet has a wavelength of 400, red has a wavelength of around 700. 670 is more accurate, but for all purposes we take the 700 nanometer as standard red color. Okay, so 700 nanometer means higher wavelength, higher the wavelength, higher is critical angle. So critical angle will be maximum for red color. Okay, yes, correct, all of you are correct. Now next question, for a point object, which of the following always produces virtual image in air? This question also, this type of question also comes in KCET, right? This will be like a very juicy question, juicy full toss. You have to hit it outside the boundary for 1 mark, but fortunately outside the boundary means 1 mark, not 6. For a point object, which of the following always produces virtual image in air? Plano-convex lens, convex mirror, biconvex lens, concave mirror. What is the answer? Hello Narendra. Repeat 10th question. 10th question I think I repeated enough. Okay, so remember that for a given pair of transparent medium, they ask you what is the, for which color the critical angle is maximum. What is critical angle, by the way? If you forget that, when the light is traveling from a denser medium to a rarer medium, okay, at certain angle, the ray of light, instead of passing on to the second medium, it passes directly between the two angles. That is called critical angle. This angle is called critical angle, and it can be proven that critical angle is 1 by refractive index. So if the refractive index of this medium is n, generally refractive, this is considered to be air or vacuum, so refractive index of this medium generally considered to be 1. So when this is happening, okay, critical angle is actually can be shown from Snell's law. It is 1 by n. Okay, 1 by n. N is refractive index. N is what? Refractive index. So now refractive index is inversely proportional to wavelength. Refractive index is inversely proportional to wavelength. So critical angle must be directly proportional to wavelength. Now remember, this is one of the important concept in KCET. This concept repeated 2-3 times. Okay, refractive index is inversely proportional to wavelength. Refractive index is inversely proportional to wavelength. This is important concept. Now based on that, they can give different questions. Okay, so any color based questions, remember that color means wavelength. Okay, color in physics means wavelength. Okay, they does not mean that how does it look. Okay, color in physics always represents a wavelength, and for wavelength, red has the highest wavelength, violet has the smallest wavelength. Now sin theta c is sin IC is proportional to lambda. That means you can say that IC is also proportional to lambda. Okay, higher the wavelength, higher is the angle of incidence. That means red will have the highest critical angle. So what is this question? This is easy question. What is this question? What is the answer for this question? Someone is saying C, someone is saying B, someone is saying, okay. So, so you think why biconvex lens produces virtual image? Are you crazy? Always produces virtual image. Focus in the class, not in the chat. Focus in the class. Okay, and this kind of things will also happen in the exam. There will be no one to help you, only yourself, right? So only either the answer could be a concave lens or convex mirror. Okay, convex mirror or concave lens. These can produce, only these two can produce always virtual images. Okay, concave lens, convex mirror and concave lens. Okay, so here it will be convex mirror. Convex mirror. Those who are saying B are correct. Those who are saying B are correct. Okay, so remember that it's a convex mirror. Okay, not convex lens. Convex lens, plano-convex or biconvex, they will always, there will be cases where it will produce virtual, but it will also produce real images as well. For example, concave mirror, if the focal length is, the object distance is more than focal length, it will always produce real images. If the distance is less than focal length, it will produce virtual image. Same goes for convex lens as well. Okay, only concave lens and convex mirror produces virtual images, and always virtual images. An equiconvex lens made of glass of refractive index 3/2 has a focal length f in air. It is completely immersed in water of refractive index 4/3. The percentage change in the focal length. Now here you have to do the calculation, and remember it is a percentage change. Okay, I will explain that. First we have to find the focal length. So we know that 1 upon f equals to 3/2 minus 1 into 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2. This is the focal length in air. Okay, this is the focal length in air. Okay, now in the medium, here it is actually water. Okay, this 4/3 is nothing but water. So water focal length is, what is the focal length in water? 1 by f water equals to, now here what you have to do, remember that when you insert the lens into a medium, okay, the relative refractive index changes. Nothing else changes, only relative refractive index changes. What is relative refractive index? Refractive index of the medium or refractive index of the material divided by refractive index of the surrounding medium. Refractive index of the material divided by refractive index of the surrounding medium. Minus 1, remaining things remain same, so it will be 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2. we are not interested. We just divide these two equations and we get 1 by f divided by 1 by f water equals to 3 by 2 minus 1 divided by 3 by 2 minus 4 by 3. Now I am not solving it here directly. We can do that. Obviously, for you to understand, I am doing it step by step. Now this f water being division of division will go up, so f water will be first and f will be below. Okay, so this will go up. This is already in division, so it will remain in division. Now what about the top part? Top part will get 3 by 2 minus 1, that is half. What about the bottom part? Bottom part will get 9 by 8. So 9 by 8 minus 1. So what is that? Half divided by 1 by 8, or 8 by 2, that is 4. So f water is actually equals to 4f. So focal length becomes 4 times. But the question is not asking you about the how much will be the new focal length. They are asking you the change, percentage change. Percentage change means change in focal length by original focal length into 100%. This is called change. Okay, change means final focal length minus initial focal length divided by original focal length into 100%. So you will get this as 300%. Okay, this is change. Okay, it is the change. 300% increase. 300% increase. Don't make the mistake after calculating this 400% increase. Don't do that. It will be change will be only 300%. Okay, overall it might say 400%. New value will be 400% of the original. That is okay. But increase or decrease whenever it comes, you have to calculate the change. Change means final minus initial divided by initial into 100%. So that is very, very critical. Formula wise very easy, solution wise also easy, but here student makes mistakes, not in this calculation. This calculation most of the students will do, but after that they will mark 400% increase, which is wrong. Okay. Guys, focus on the class, don't discuss too much. Okay, if you have any doubt, you can ask me, not each other, as long as I am here. Sir, should we solve last 20 years PYQ or last 5 years PYQ? Tanjiro, if you get time, you should solve 20 years. If you don't get time, you should at least solve last 10 years. 10 years is important. 20 years will be too much. Okay, but if you are starting now, last 10 years should be minimum. Okay, last 10 years, not 5 years. 5 years will not help you that much. 10 years is at least a benchmark. Okay, so solve 10 years PYQs. If you get time, solve 20 years. Okay, 20 years you should start. If you have started during your P1, P2 around midterm or around half yearly, then you should have solved 20 years. But if you are starting now, at least 10 years you should target. Okay, consider a glass slab which is silvered at one side and the other side is transparent. Given the refractive index of the glass slab to be 1.5. If a ray of light is incident at an angle of 45 degrees on the transparent side, the deviation of the ray of the light from the initial path when it comes out of the slab. Now here what is happening, let us understand through a diagram. So here we have a glass slab, this side is silvered. Silvered means it is a reflecting surface. Okay, so a ray of light which pass here, it falls on this medium, it falls on this, and then it reflects back. Okay, so this is the normal. Now remember that no matter what is happening, if it is a reflection, angle of incidence will always be angle of reflection. Okay, so now you might say, sir, here there is a refraction happening. Yes, refraction is happening, but if you join them, these two lines together, okay, if this angle is I, okay, you will see that the actually the deviation is happening on this surface, right? This is the deviation. Deviation means the original path and the final part, the angle made by this. Okay, this angle is called angle of deviation. Okay, original path and the final path, angle made by the original path and the final path. This intermediate medium does not change anything. Okay, what is the angle of deviation? Angle of deviation for normal reflection, when the normal reflection happens, okay, if this angle is I, this angle is this angle is also I, then the angle of deviation can be calculated, theta equals to 180 degree minus 2i. So same formula is applicable here as well, even though they complicated the situation using a glass slab. Glass slab does not deviate. Okay, if you remember, glass slab only gives a lateral displacement, but does not, the angle of deviation for a glass slab is 0. Angle of deviation for a glass slab is 0. It only gives you a lateral displacement if the normal refraction was to happen. Okay, so that's why glass slab does not add anything here. So the formula remains same. So angle of deviation is 180 degrees minus 2 into I. What is I here? I is given here 45 degrees. Okay, you can simply ignore whatever the refractive index, whatever is given, you can simply ignore that. You don't need to consider it. So 180 minus 90, that is 90. So this is an easy but intelligent question. Easy but intelligent question. Easy why? Because obviously mathematically not that difficult, only very simple formula. Intelligent why? Because you need to understand glass slab is not contributing on the deflection angle of deviation. Now again a color based question. Focal length of a convex lens will be maximum for. Focal length of a convex lens will be maximum for. As I mentioned, you should only consider red light, violet light. Now here violet is not given. The next in the line is blue light, so you need to consider these two light only. Remaining lights you can simply ignore. Okay, so either red will be the answer or blue will be the answer. Now let's see what is the focal length. Focal length is given by f1 by f equals to n minus 1 into 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2. So we can say that 1 by upon focal length is actually proportional to refractive index. Okay, if you ignore this minus 1, which is okay, there is a minus 1 here, but okay, proportionality wise we can still write it, right? So if n increases, 1 by f also increases. That means focal length is inversely proportional to 1 by refractive index. So focal length is inversely proportional to refractive index. Also we know that refractive index is inversely proportional to wavelength. So enemy of my enemy is my friend. Okay, so it is proportional to lambda. So focal length is proportional to lambda. So correct answer here will also be red light. Okay, but do not always make red light. There are some cases where they have given you a question, answer is a violet or a blue light. Okay, so you need to check, always check that what is the relation. As I mentioned, this is one of the most repeated concept from this chapter. One of the most repeated concept from this chapter, how the refractive index and wavelength relates to each other. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Guys, focus on the lecture, don't discuss. Okay, a ray of light passes through an equilateral glass prism. A ray of light passes through an equilateral glass prism in such a manner that the angle of incidence is equal to angle of emergence, and each of these angle is equal to 3/4 of the angle of the prism. The angle of deviation is, so if a light enters a prism such a way that angle of incidence is equal to angle of incidence is equal to angle of emergence, then definitely this is the case of angle of minimum deviation. Okay, but anyway, which is not required to solve this question. What else is given? That each of these angle is 3/4 of the angle of the prism. Equilateral triangle, that means angle of the prism is 60 degrees. So angle of incidence equals to angle of emergence equals to 3/4 of this. So 3 by 4 into 60, so 15, that is 45 degrees. So angle of incidence and angle of emergence both are 45 degrees. So what is the angle of deviation? The angle of deviation is very simple, A minus I plus E. Okay, angle of deviation is A minus I plus E, right? Sorry, I plus E minus A, I plus E minus A. Okay, for minimum deviation I becomes I and E are equal. Okay, so that's how you calculate. So delta equals to here given by 45 plus 45 minus 60, that is 30 degrees. So angle of deviation will be simply 30 degrees. Easy question, nothing difficult. Okay, simple formula. If you remember this formula, you will be able to solve the question. Now if you forget, just for your memory, that angle of incidence for minimum deviation is given by A plus delta M by 2. So this is also, this formula also can be helpful if you forget this, but not always they will give you the same formula. They might say that angle of incidence and angle of emergence are double, like that. So in that case you have to remember this formula. This is the general formula. Now let's move on to the next chapter, which is alternating current. In domestic electric main supply, the voltage and current are. So very interesting question, easy question, but still student makes this mistakes. DC voltage and DC current, DC voltage and AC current, AC voltage and DC current, AC voltage and AC current. Who can answer this question? Let's see. Who can answer this question? Chandu, why you are deleting your options? You are not confident enough to answer? Don't be underconfidence. Chandu Gowda. So Chandu answered the question correctly, but then he saw that others are answering wrong, so I will also answer wrong. That's what happens. Okay, that's what happens if you are down in self-confidence. Okay, correct answer is AC voltage, AC current. We do not use DC here. In our world we use only AC current, only AC voltage. Okay, DC current is not used. If DC current is required, okay, there is something called an adapter which converts AC to DC. Okay, you have learned how to convert AC to DC in your semiconductor chapter. For example, the mobile charger you use, it's like an adapter which converts the AC supply into a DC. Okay, have you ever read the mobile charger? Next time when you charge your mobile phone, no, just check, there are some specification written on the device. Okay, 220 volt, 0.1 ampere to 5 volt, 2 ampere, like that. Okay, so it is always takes AC voltage, AC current. Okay, AC voltage cannot give you DC current, or DC voltage cannot give you AC current as well. Okay, so you have to be either DC voltage, DC current, or AC voltage, AC current. These combinations are not possible. These combinations are not possible. At the beginning of the current journey, when the first people are discovering currents, okay, Nikola Tesla and there was one more guy, not Eddington, I forgot his name. So those two persons are fighting for their respective currents. Okay, so Tesla was favor for DC, okay, the other guy was favor for AC, and there was a big fight. Okay, it did not happen in India, it happened in America. Okay, they are the first person who commercialized electric current. Okay, and eventually it was settled on AC because AC is more superior than DC. Okay, because AC we can send AC over a long distance without any loss. So AC voltage and AC current is used in 99.9% portions of the world. Okay, there are very few limited areas where DC is used. Okay, but they are very limited, very closed group of systems. Okay, but remember that even if you are using DC current, it has to be converted from AC. Okay, the mobile phone that you are watching my video on, or laptop or any device basically works on DC, but that DC is converted from AC. Okay, so remember that. A sinusoidal voltage produced by an AC generator at any instant is given by an equation of V is equal to 311 314 T, the RMS value of the voltage and the frequency respectively. Okay, so first of all, when it is given like this, V is equal to Vm sin omega t, so this is the maximum value of the voltage. So maximum value of the voltage from the equation is 311 volt. So what is the RMS voltage? RMS voltage is 311 divided by root 2. Now this 311 is a very special value. Actually 311.11, okay, 0.1. This is a very special value because when you divide it by root 2, it gives our domestic power supply, that is 220 volt. Okay, 311, you should remember this value. 311 actually gives you, divided by root 2 gives you 220 volt. That is the RMS value that we use in our domestic supply, right? And what about the frequency? For frequency we have to check this. So from here the angular velocity or angular frequency is given by 314. Okay, so what is the frequency? Frequency is omega divided by 2 pi. Okay, omega equals to 2 pi f, so frequency is omega divided by 2 pi, that is 314 divided by 2 into 3.14. 3.14 cancels, you get 100. So 2 and 100 cancels, you get 50 hertz. So this is the exact power supply that we receive in our home. Okay, our home 220 volt 50 hertz. Okay, in some other countries they use 110 volt 60 hertz, but our homes in India and most countries they use 220 volt and 50 hertz. Okay, there are fluctuations in the voltages, but always we all use AC current only, AC voltage only. Okay, voltage and frequency can change. For example, in some of the European countries they use 110 volt 60 hertz supply. Okay, we use 220 volt 50 hertz supply. Now, let's move on to the next question. A series LCR circuit containing an AC source of 100 volt. Okay, a series LCR circuit containing an AC source of 100 volt has an inductor and a capacitor of reactances. Directly they have given you reactances. Reactance means XL and XC. So you don't need to calculate XL and XC. Okay, so XL is given as 24 and XC is given as 16. Okay, and resistance is 6. So resistance is 6. Everything is given. Connected in series, then the potential difference across the series combination of inductor and capacitor only. So they do not ask you the total voltage drop, they ask you the voltage drop across XL and XC only. Okay, so how to calculate that? So what you can do is that the total voltage is given 100 volt, so you have to calculate the impedance and then you have to calculate the current in the circuit. So what is the impedance? Impedance is given by square root of R square plus XL minus XC whole square. Okay, so let's do that. 6 square plus 24 minus 16 whole square, that is 6 square plus 8 square. Now 6 square plus 8 square is 64 plus 36, that is 100 square. 100, that is 10. Okay, so impedance is 10 ohm. So what is the current in the circuit? Current is not V by R, it is V by Z. Okay, during your board exam most of you have made that mistake. It is V by Z. So voltage is given as 100 volt, impedance is 10, so it will be 10 ampere. So 10 ampere is the current. Now what is the voltage drop across XL and XC? So remember, voltage drop across XL and XC is given by XL minus XC into I. Okay, XL and XC, they are in opposite phase, so their reactances has to be subtracted. So 24 minus 16 into 10, that is 8 into 10, that is 80 volt. So voltage drop across inductor and capacitance is 80 volt. It will be 80 volt. Okay, it's the same value, the same value. Okay, XL minus XC into I. Okay, clear? Option D, yes, correct. You watch movies and you will miss out on your exam. Watch Dhurandhar, watch whatever movie is coming. Okay, which of the following combinations should be selected for better tuning? Oh, this question is out of syllabus, sorry. This question is based on Q factor. Q factor is not part of the syllabus, so this is an out of syllabus question, sorry. Next, in an LCR circuit, the value of only capacitance C is varied. Okay, I think we will complete this lecture quickly. In an LCR series circuit, the value of only capacitance C is varied. The resultant variation of resonance frequency F0 as a function of C can be represented as. Answer this. Total we have 30 questions. Kepamma Krishnappa. Yes, I will start blocking. We have still more 11 questions. So those who are just discussing, no, without answering any questions, I will start blocking them. In an LCR series circuit, the value of only capacitance is varied. So what is resonance frequency? Resonance frequency is 1 by square root of 2 pi square root of L into C. So we can say that resonance frequency varies as 1 by square root of L into C, right? Here it says that L is constant, only C is varied. So resonance frequency must be proportional to 1 by square root of C. Okay, so it is inverse proportionality relation. It is an inverse proportionality relation. Okay, and only one graph that represents inverse proportionality, which is this one. And also I always tell you that the favorite pattern in KCET is this. If you don't know the answer, you want to guess, this should be your guess. Okay, remember that, but you have a chance of only 90% of getting it correct. Okay, only 90% chance of getting this correct, because 90% of the time this pattern, this hyperbolic pattern is the correct answer. There are 10% cases where other options can also be correct, but 90% cases this is the correct option. Okay, now next question. The frequency, the figure shows variation of R, XL and XC with frequency F in series LCR circuit. For what frequency point is the circuit capacitive? For what point in the given diagram the circuit is capacitive? First, let us understand what is the meaning of the term capacitive. Capacitive means the capacitive reactance is more than inductive reactance. If inductive reactance is less than capacitive reactance, then it says that circuit is capacitive. Now if you see the graph here, XC is decreasing like this, XL is increasing in a straight line path. Okay, with frequency XC is decreasing, okay, in hyperbolic path, XL is increasing in a straight line path, resistance is constant. Resistance does not play any role over here. Okay, so if you see that this point where XL and XC meets, that point is called, that point is the resonance point. Okay, this is the resonance point. Here the resonance happens. Okay, any point before this point, XC is bigger than XL. So XL is this value, suppose at this point XL is this value and corresponding XC is this. So obviously XC is bigger than XL any point before this. So this part of the graph where the circuit is capacitive, this is capacitive. This is exactly equal, and any point on this part of the graph, any point here, the circuit is inductive. Okay, so circuit is capacitive for the point A. Circuit is capacitive from the given question. Circuit is capacitive for the point A. So correct answer is option C. Why option C? Because option C gives you A. Okay, not option A. So option C is correct, not option A. Yes, correct. Yes, option C is correct. Now let's move on to the next question. In series LCR circuit at resonance, the phase difference between voltage and current is. Now who can answer this? Who can answer this? Sir, I was taking rest as I completed the first 5 chapters mock test from college. Now doing the questions with you, and I scored 17 out of 20 marks in college mock exam. Thank you, extreme. Okay, I can see some of the correct, some of the wrong answer. So remember that at resonance, what happens? What is the meaning of resonance? Capacitance and capacitive reactance and inductive reactance, they are equal. They are the culprit to change the phase, and phase difference depends on XL minus XC. Phase difference depends on XL minus XC by R, that is tan phi, right? This is the phase difference formula, right? So XL and XC are equal. So XL and XC are equal means the phase difference will be 0, right? Tan 0 is 0, tan 0 is here already. Okay, he is sending some weird emojis. Tan 0 means tan 0. Okay, so tan 0 is here. So that means it will be 0. The phase difference in resonance will be 0. Resonance is the point where the phase is 0, and if the circuit is only resistive, phase difference is 0. There are only 2 conditions where phase difference is 0: if the circuit is in resonance or circuit is completely resistive. Okay. An ideal transformer has a turn ratio of 10 when the primary is connected to 220 volt 50 Hz AC source. The power output is. Very easy question. So they have given you turn ratio. Now you need to remember what is turn ratio. It is primary by secondary or secondary by primary. I don't remember it. Okay, but actually you don't need to remember that because the question is simple. If you read the first line, it is an ideal transformer. So ideal transformer means power input equals to power output. In ideal transformer, power in equals to power out. Okay, but none of them are actually ideal. So this does not happen. It depends on the efficiency of the transformer. But if ideal transformer, then power output must be equals to power input. Okay, option B is correct. No darshan, not D, option B. Power input, power in terms of power, they will always be equal. Current can vary, voltage will change, current will change, but power will not change. Power will remain same. Okay, not 10 times. Now let's see this question. Which of the following represents the variation of inductive reactance XL with the frequency of voltage nu? So as I mentioned, if you guess this, then you will be wrong. This is a particular case where this is the 10% case where this pattern graph is wrong. Okay, if the same question is asked with XC, okay, then this is correct pattern. The same question say that XC versus frequency, this is the pattern. But for XL it will be different. What is XL? XL is 2 pi omega, so not 2 pi, 2 pi F into L, right? Or omega L, or 2 pi F into L. So what is the graph of this? So if you take this as Y, this as your X, then 2 pi L into X. So this is a pattern of Y is equal to mx. So what is this? This is a straight line passing through origin. This is an equation of straight line passing through origin. So correct answer is not D but A. Okay, so as I mentioned, if you want to guess, this is the most common guess because this is the most common pattern, but there are 10% of cases where this pattern is wrong. So this is one such cases where this pattern is wrong, this pattern is correct. Okay, so but this is an easy guess. If you want to guess, try to. And how to solve graph based questions, always try to remember what is the relationship between the x and y axis, and if you can write them into a formula or not. Okay, if you can write them in y is equal to mx plus c form, then it will be a straight line. Okay, if it is 1 upon x, then it will be a pattern like this: 1 upon x, 1 upon x square, 1 upon root x. Generally that is the pattern. Okay. Now next question, an alternating current is given by I equals to I1 sin omega t plus I2 cos omega t. The RMS current is given by, okay. Okay, so an alternating current is given by I equals to I1 sin omega t plus I2 cos omega t. Now how to solve such question? Now you might guess the answer, but how to mathematically solve it, okay, that I will teach you. This is very simple. You are doing this kind of calculations in your integration substitution. So what we will do, we will take that I1 equals to some value A into cos theta, and I2 equals to A sin theta. Okay, the same way we substitute in our integration substitution. So I becomes A cos theta sin omega t plus A sin theta cos omega t. So this becomes A sin omega t plus theta, right? So this theta is our phase and this A is our amplitude. Okay, so what is the amplitude A here? If you square these two terms and add them, you can write that I1 square plus I2 square equals to A square. That means A must be equal to square root of I1 square plus I2 square, right? So this is the value of A. Okay, now what is the if this is the max, so this is the final current, right? So that means this must be the amplitude of the current. This represents amplitude of the current. So what is the RMS current? RMS current will be A divided by root 2. RMS current is A divided by root 2, so that means it will be square root of I1 square plus I2 square divided by 2, whole square root. Okay, it will be whole square root. So correct answer option A. Now if they ask you what is the phase, phase can also be calculated, sin theta by cos theta. So tan theta equals to I2 by I1. So suppose this year they ask you what is the phase. Phase will be tan inverse I2 by I1. Okay, remember that phase is this. So what is the phase difference? Phase difference is this. Okay, so remember how to calculate phase, how to calculate amplitude. Now next question. A series resonant AC circuit contains a capacitor of 10 to the power of minus 6 farad and inductor of 10 to the power of minus 4 Henry. The frequency of electrical oscillations will be. Okay, so they have asked you series resonant AC circuit. Okay, and capacitor and inductance are given. So what is the resonant frequency? Resonant frequency is given by 1 by 2 pi square root of L into C. Okay, so all the formulas that you have learned in your PUC exam, okay, because this chapter was important for numericals, all those formulas will be very, very important for your KCET exam as well. So if you have solved numerical question from this chapter and without making any mistake, obviously, because I know most of you in the board exam are saying that, sir, I have calculated current as V by R. Current is not V by R, current is V by Z. Okay, so don't make those mistakes again, then you should be perfectly fine. So I make a small mistake, it will be 10 to the power of minus 4. Okay, 1 is 4, this is minus 6. So it will be square root of 10 to the power of minus 10. So square root of any 10 to the power value is half of that. So it will be 1 by 2 pi into 10 to the power of minus 5, or 10 to the power of 5 divided by 2 pi. Okay, so the correct answer will be option A. Okay, correct answer is option A. Which question, Indu, which question? Question number 25 or 26? Sir, pray for all the students to score more than 90 plus marks. It's me extreme 90 plus marks is most of the students will get. You should score at least 130 140 marks to get a safe rank. Okay, for safe rank 130 to 140 you need to get. For a good rank 150 plus. For a safe rank, at least to get a good college of your choice, okay, within 10,000 rank, 140. Okay, 130 to 140. If you want to score below 5,000, okay, PUC result obviously matters, but if you want to score below 5,000, minimum KCET mark should be 150 plus out of 180. Okay, 190 plus means only 50% marks. Question number 25. Okay, so question number 25, what is this? Gives you, this is a current. Okay, current is equal to I1 sin omega t plus I2 cos omega t. Basically it says that we have two AC current coming from two sides and they are merging. This is the meaning of it. Okay, so suppose this is I1 sin omega t, this is I2 cos omega t. When they merge, according to Kirchhoff's law, what is the total current? Total current will be given by this equation. Now this is not a standard AC equation, right? Standard AC equation is like this. Standard AC equation, current is represented by A sin omega t, and in some cases there can be a phase difference as well. This is the standard equation. Now obviously this is not a standard equation. So what you have to do, you have to convert this equation into a standard equation. How to convert this into standard equation? We have to substitute, we have to assume, okay, that I1 equals to A cos theta and I2 is equal to A sin theta. This kind of substitution you are doing every day in your mathematics when you are solving integrations. Okay, in integrations many times this kind of functions are given. There you are substituting this and you are converting it into only one sine function so that your integration becomes easier, right? Tell me if I'm wrong, right? When I was a student, this kind of integration was very, very popular. I think this kind of integration is very popular these days as well. Okay, because few years back also when I was I checked mathematics paper, these kind of questions were very, very popular as well. So what you have to do, you have to substitute these two in the original equation. So once you substitute I1 is equal to A cos theta, I2 equals to A sin theta, it gets sin theta, sin A cos B, okay, sin B cos A. So basically that means it is sin A plus B. So that's what sin is sorted. Now A is common, so basically that means A must be your amplitude. This is now similar to our standard equation. So A must be our amplitude. What is the value of A? How to calculate? You square both the terms and add them. If you square both the terms, a square gets common. Here you get cos square theta plus sin square theta. That means cos square plus sin square is 1. So you are left with I1 square plus I2 square equals to a square, because sin square theta plus cos square theta is 1. Okay, so now from here you calculate the amplitude, because this is a variable, right? This is a parameter. So you have to convert this parameter into the actual value. So what is the actual value? Actual value you have to calculate in terms of I1 and I2. So this is the actual value. Now we know that RMS current is the amplitude divided by √2. This is the formula, right? For RMS value, for RMS voltage, the voltage is given in terms of like this. Again the same method you have to follow, and voltage RMS is also Vmax by √2. Here it is Imax by √2. Imax is A. So A by √2. Now put the value of A, you will get I1 square plus I2 square by 2. Now in bonus, I told you that the phase here, okay, this is a bonus. Bonus means in case similar question is asked where they ask you what is the phase relation, that phase relation will be, for that you need to divide these two terms, okay, sin theta by cos theta, so that on your left hand side A cancelled, you get tan theta and I2 by I1. Okay, so this is a bonus part. So remember, standard AC equation is always given by I is equal to A sin omega t plus phi, V is equal to Vm sin omega t plus phi in some cases. Okay. For KCET good, yes, for good rank you have to score 150. For good rank means below 5000. Okay, below 5000 you have to score 150 plus. If your PU board is very good, if you score 90% and above in your PU board, that marks can be adjusted. But assuming that your PU exam is okay, not super good, 250 plus you will score in PU, okay, then 150 plus. Okay, it depends on your PU marks. There was last year one student get a good 2700 rank because his PU exam was super. He scored 290 plus in PU, but in KCET he scored around 140. Okay, so but his PU score was super good, 290 plus, so 140. In KCET he got a rank around 2700. So obviously it is a 50-50 of PU and KCET. For getting top 1000 rank, it should be 160, 165, as much as you score. Okay, 160 plus is good marks for top 1000 rank. Okay, but for top 5000 rank, 150 plus you have to score based on your PU score. Obviously the number can vary, but 150 plus is good for good rank. If you want to score say 10,000, 130, 140, okay. If you want to score 1 lakh rank, 90 plus is okay. Okay, so that all depends on what is your target and how much you scored in your PU exam. PU exam results, I don't know how when it will out, but end of this month it should be out. By the time you give your KCET, after that I think it should be out. In a series LCR circuit, R is 300 ohm, L equals to 0.9 Henry, C is equal to 2 microfarad, and omega is given 1000 radian per second. Then impedance of the circuit is very easy question. So XL is omega L, okay, omega is 1000 into L is 0.9. So remember, in KCET the problems calculation wise will be easy. Okay, calculation wise will be easy, theory wise also should not be super difficult. There will be some questions which will be difficult, but you should at least attempt all the easy questions in your KCET exam. Okay, 55 questions in physics are relatively solvable within the exam time. Remaining 5 questions, if you are either you have to be super prepared or you have to be genius to solve the remaining 5. Those 5 questions you can take exception of, but 55 marks are easily scorable in physics. Okay, if you waste time on the remaining 5, then those 55 marks can suffer. That should not happen. You should be able to recognize, okay, this is a hard question. I should skip it. This is a really hard question. This question will take a lot of time if I try to solve it. For example, there was one question in electrostatics few years back, okay, where they ask you that there is a particle, charge particle held in air, okay, and it was dropped, it attained terminal velocity, what is the charge on that particle? That was a very long process, long question. Okay, many students waste time on solving those questions. Those questions are okay, you can solve it now, but those type of question, if comes in exam, you should not waste time on that, because that will take 5-10 minutes to solve. Okay, in that same time you could solve another 10 different questions. Okay, so Xc equals to 1 by omega c, that is 1 by omega is 1000 and C is 2 microfarad. Micro means 10 to the power of minus 6. So 1000 into 10 to the power of minus 6 becomes 1 by 2 into 10 to the power of minus 3. That is 10 to the power of 3 by 2, that is 1000 by 2 equals to 500. Okay, so now what is the impedance? Impedance is very simple, square root of R square plus XL minus XC whole square. Okay, they will not give you a question where calculation is hard. If you think that calculation is difficult, that means that question can be a tricky one. So 300 whole square, but you need to identify direct questions, okay, small trick questions where the trick is small, okay, and you might not confuse with small trick question with the difficult question. Small trick questions can be answerable, but difficult questions will be difficult, and KCET tend to give that kind of questions every year, 1 or 2, okay, and overall 5 questions are difficult. So 400 square. So 3 square plus 4 square. 3 square plus 4 square, if you remember, is 25 square root, that is 5. That means 300 square plus 400 square is nothing but 500. Okay, so 300 square plus 400 square is 500. These kind of calculation tricks you need to know. Okay, otherwise you will be thinking 300 square means 90,000, 400 square means 160000, how to add them? So you need to know that 3 square plus 4 square is 5, because I have solved it many a times. 9 plus 16, 25, square root of that is 5. So 300 square plus 400 square will be 500. Okay, that is how you should figure it out. These kind of tricks are small but solvable. Okay, now question number 28. What will be the reading in the voltmeter and ammeter of the circuit shown? So here if you see that XL, XC and R are given. Okay, XL, XC and R are given, and they said what is the reading of this voltmeter and this ammeter. Okay, so voltmeter, obviously there is a small mistake, that is the resistance they have not shown here. Okay, resistance should be here. Okay, now what is the voltage drop here? So if you see that XC and XL value are same. XC and XL value are same. So whatever the voltage drop across this, there will be same voltage drop but in the opposite direction. So voltage must be 0. Okay, so this circuit will cancel each other. This circuit will cancel each other in terms of voltage. Okay, that means voltage will be 0. Current will not be 0. Current you have to calculate. Current you have to calculate. How to calculate the current? Okay, to calculate current, obviously XL and XC are equal, so it is a circuit is in resonance. Circuit in resonance means only resistance is there. Okay, voltage is 90 volt, so current must be the voltage that you have supplied divided by resistance. Okay, so 90 by 45, that is 2 ampere. So the current will be 2 ampere. So 0 volt 2 ampere is the answer. 0 volt 2 ampere is the answer. Do not mark 90 volt, okay, because this voltmeter is measuring voltage across XC and XL. Okay, XC and XL, their values are equal. That means the voltage drop across them will be 0. So voltage drop across them is 0, means this voltmeter will measure the same 0 volt. For current, you have to consider that this is a short circuit. Okay, this XC and XL does not exist. It is simple straight circuit. So R is resistance, 90 volt is the voltage. Ohm's law, V is equal to IR, calculate I. Okay, now next question. A series LCR circuit contains inductance 5 millihenry, capacitance 2 microfarad and resistance 100 ohm. In a frequency AC source is varied. What is the frequency at which maximum power is dissipated? Again, maximum power is dissipated. Okay, current is maximum, voltage across resistance is maximum, power factor is maximum. These all refers to only one thing, that is resonance. Okay, all this refers to only one thing, resonance. Okay, so they will ask you resonance frequency. So what is resonance frequency? Resonance frequency is 1 by 2 pi square root of LC. Okay, so this is also very common question in KCET. Okay, they just change the language, but it always refers to resonance frequency. Okay, so 2 pi square root of L is 5 millihenry, so 5 into 10 to the power of minus 3, and capacitance is 2 microfarad, 2 into 10 to the power of minus 6. Okay, so it will be 2 pi square root of 5 to the 10, 10 into 10 to the power of minus 9. So 10 into 10 to the power of minus 9 means 1 by 2 pi square root of 10 to the power of minus 8. Right, 1 0 will be reduced, so you get 1 by 2 pi into 10 to the power of minus 4. So it will be 10 to the power of 4 by 2 pi. Now we have solved one such question where they have given you the answer like this. Now if you see that none of the answer is actually matching here, none of the answer is matching here, so that is also a trick. Don't think that you have solved it incorrectly. Okay, you just need to find the correct configuration. Obviously 10 to the power of 5 cannot be correct, 10 to the power of 5 cannot be correct, 10 to the power of minus 5 also cannot be correct. That means you have to figure it out that this value is actually this. So how to do that? 10 to the power of 3 is there, so what we will be doing, we will take a 10, divide by 2 pi, and we will keep the remaining 10 to the power of 3. Right, 1 plus 3 is 4, so we have divided that, so we will get this as 5 by pi into 10 to the power of 3. So correct answer is option C. Okay, either after solving this you can eliminate the options, or you realize this will be 10 to the power of 3, so just figure it out whether you have solved it correctly or not. You will get a confirmation. Okay, because sometimes after solving the question, if we see that the answer is not matching, okay, we feel tensed. Okay, that oh, I have solved it, but why my answer is not matching? You have solved it correctly, but you need to reorganize your answer to match the answer. Okay, so first is resonance frequency. Resonance frequency is what? 1 by 2 pi LC. Put the values of L is given, millihenry, milli means 5 into 10 to the power of minus 3. Okay, and capacitance is 2 microfarad, microfarad means 10 to the power of minus 6, 2 into 10 to the power of minus 6. Okay, 5 to the 10, 10 to the power of minus 3, minus 6, 10 to the power of minus 9. So 10 to the power of plus 1 minus 9 will become 10 to the power of minus 8 of square root. So square root of 10 to the power of x gives us 10 to the power of x by 2, right? So here it will be 10 to the power of minus 4, but here it is in division, so division means it will go up and become positive, so 10 to the power of 4. Now after reaching here we see that none of the option is matching. So 10 to the power of 4 cannot increase 10 to the power of 5 unless there is a division in 10. Division in 10 is not there, so this cannot be correct, right? So this 10 to the power of 5s cannot be correct. 10 to the power of minus 5 cannot be correct because our answer is much bigger than this value, so this will also not be correct. So to check that whether our answer is correct or wrong, what we have to do, we have to check the remaining option, which is this one here, 10 to the power of 3 is given. So what we will be doing, 10 to the power of 4 we can write as 10 into 10 to the power of 3, right? So in the 1 plus 4 they gets added. So that's how we divided it. We had a 2 pi divided over here, so 2 pi will be divided over here, cancel it, and you will see that your answer is actually matching with an option. Now you can be confident, okay, my answer is matching, I have solved the question correctly, let's move on. Okay, from here to here it will maybe taking extra 10 seconds once you realize that options are not matching. So don't lose hope if you see that your answer is not exactly matching. Maybe there is a 50% chance your calculations are wrong, you have done something wrong, or 50% chance is that you actually need to figure out which option is correct. Okay, so both is possible. So make sure first check the options if you are getting a closer option or not. Second, you recheck your calculations. Okay, because rechecking the calculation is more long time taking than checking the option once. Okay, so that is one important thing. A step down transformer has 50 turns on secondary and 1000 turns in the primary winding. If a transformer is connected to 220 volt 1 ampere AC source, what is the output current of the transformer? Okay, so they do not ask you about the output voltage. Okay, only output current is important. We know that number of turns in primary divided by number of turns in secondary equals to, I don't know what is happening, equals to current in the secondary divided by current in the primary. Okay, in terms of voltage, remember this thing very clearly. Number of turns in primary divided by number of turns in secondary equals to voltage of primary by voltage of secondary. Okay, for current, this opposites, it is IS by IP. Okay, for current it is opposite of this. Voltage same, primary, secondary. For current it is inverted. Okay, secondary, primary. Remember this. Okay, I hope those who are practicing they know it, but if you forget, primary by secondary for turns, primary by secondary for voltage, primary by secondary for turns, secondary by primary for current. Okay, so the order is inverted. Okay, so it has 50 turns on secondary and 1000 turns in the primary. So 1000 turns in the primary divided by 50 turns in the secondary equals to secondary current divided by primary has 1 ampere current, so 1. Okay, so simply cancel and you will get 20. So secondary current is 20 ampere. Secondary current is 20 ampere. Correct answer is 20 ampere. Don't make mistake and get this answer, because 20 is there, 1 by 20 is also there. Okay, so you have to remember this very basic formula. Sometimes this can also be used, this formula can also be used, so make sure you also know that voltage and current are actually opposite. Turns are also opposite for current. Okay, okay, now this is the end of today's lecture. I hope if you have any doubt, ask me before where are you from? Bangalore, Yadgir, Kalburgi. Which one, Shreyash? Last question. Okay, so remember that for when you are talking about transformers, okay, so there is a primary, there is a secondary, right? So primary is generally the source where you apply the voltage and current. So Vs, Vp and Ip are the things. Okay, in secondary you collect that voltage, and here Vs and Is are the two things. Now for an ideal transformer, obviously power is same. So Vp Ip equals to VSIS. For ideal transformer, this is same. Okay, what else? If the number of turns in the primary is NP, if the number of turns in the secondary is NS, then when you are trying to find the ratio of primary to secondary, okay, ratio of primary to secondary, okay, this is same as ratio of the voltages. Okay, so here it P, here S, here S. Okay, so primary by secondary for voltages. But for current, the order is opposite. Primary by secondary is equal to secondary by primary. The order is opposite. This is because of this fact. Okay, this is because this power is same. Okay, so remember that power remains same. Okay, ratio of primary by secondary is voltage primary by voltage secondary and current secondary by current primary. Okay, this is very, very basic formula. Okay, students confused sometimes, that's why I told you that current is opposite order of that of the voltage. That you should remember. If you remember this one of them you should have to remember, that primary by secondary is equal to primary by secondary. For current, you just remember the order is opposite. Okay, for current the order is opposite. If you remember that much, that is sufficient to answer such question. Now before going, just don't forget to like this session. Okay, many of you are coming and watching the video but you don't like the session, so please like the session. Okay, and we will be doing more live. Sunday morning there will be a physics live. Okay, Sunday morning I will be taking another live of next few chapters. So do join me for that live as well. Okay, till then, bye. Time, it will be 9 AM. Okay, 9:30, 9 to 9:30, between 9 to 9:30 I will be coming live for Sunday morning. Okay, so Sunday morning I will be taking live 9. I will try to take it at 9, maybe 5 minutes late, but 9 AM it will be the live class. Okay, and then there will be a Monday evening 5 PM there will be another live class. So I am planning to complete all the PU2 chapters by that lecture. PYQs, then from I think 8th or 9th we will be going on to the next phase of our preparation, so that where we will be solving new questions. Okay, new questions other than PYQs. We have solved a lot of PYQs. Now once the PYQs are over, we will be solving new set of questions. Okay, so see you on Monday. Okay, bye.